358 runs required. Four all the way. That's the first boundary for Fleming. Gone, bold. McGrath has got the wicket.
That's the early wicket they were looking for. Now they need to keep the pressure on.
Franklin takes his place at the crease. That has to be close. He's out. Franklin makes his way back to the dressing room. Vincent to face the hat-trick ball.
New Zealand will be looking to take full advantage of the early fielding restrictions by scoring some quick runs.
Astle takes guard. The required run rate has crept up to around 7 and over. It's high in the air and he's got away with it. That's a lovely way to get off the mark. Vincent is now on strike. That's a lovely way to get off the mark. Lee to Astle. A nice shot, but it won't make it to the boundary. I think he was easily back in the crease there. It's in the air and safe.
The one-day fielding restrictions really give attacking batsmen an advantage at the start of the innings.
McGrath to begin a new over. The required run rate has crept up to around 7 and over. It's a mix-up with the batsman. It was very tight, so the umpire's calling for the TV replay. The batsman will have to be more careful now, having got away with that. Well played, but the fielder will cut that one off. McGrath at the start of his run-up. Great catch.
Well, he just picked the fielder out perfectly with that shot.
Astle goes for only 2.
He wasn't there for very long, as his score shows.
McMillan is the new batsman for New Zealand. McGrath gets his 3rd wicket. New Zealand are 3 down now for 9. There it goes. He picked that up beautifully.
Another one of those, and this bowler could be out of the attack.
3, now for 15. McGrath to bowl to McMillan. There it goes.
For the crowd, the hook is a spectacular action shot.
47 overs are left in the innings.
The openers will be looking to take advantage of the fielding restrictions early on.
Lee to begin a new over. The run rate stands at just under 7 and over. Stopped by Lehman. Hit straight to a fielder. Lee to bowl to Vincent. Steered expertly into the gap. The batsmen are turning for a third, fielded by Hayden. 46 overs are left for New Zealand. McGrath to begin a new over. The required run rate has crept up to around 7 and over. There it goes. That's the first boundary for McMillan. McGrath to McMillan. McGrath continues. It's high in the air. McMillan has now moved into the 20s. McGrath is back in the attack. New Zealand move on to 31. It's high in the air. He looks in good form out there.
He should be looking to bowl a tighter line at this stage.
That's the end of the 5th over. Lee to begin a new over. The required run rate is around 7 and over. It's in the air. McMillan really punishes anything short.
The bowler didn't do too much wrong there. It was just an excellent shot.
There it goes. Dropped.
The bowler will be very upset about that. He's worked hard to create a chance only for the fielder to spill it.
Lee at the start of his run-up. There it goes. He smashed that a long way.
Well, you can't set fields for shots like that. That's brilliant.
That's straight up in the air. He picked the length quickly with that one.
It was a good shot, but the bowler shouldn't be bowling at him.
McMillan is now on strike. .14 runs came from that over. McGrath to begin a new over. The required run rate is around 6.5 and over. Stopped by Harvey. Superb shot. That's the first boundary for Vincent. McGrath to Vincent. That's straight up in the air. This partnership is now 51. McGrath continues. That's straight up in the air. That was sweetly timed.
Well, that was short and just asked to be hit.
43 overs are left in the innings. We're about to see the first bowling change. The required run rate is around 6.5 and over. Warren reaches it before it crosses the boundary. There it goes. McMillan really takes advantage of anything over pitch.
Cracking shot. The secret there was that he got his feet into position early and had plenty of time to play the shot.
That's 4 more. There's been an excellent innings so far by McMillan. There's his half century. There it goes. He smashed that right out of the ground.
The bowler won't like that one little bit.
He's got that one over the infield and away for 4. He looks in good form out there.
That looked like 4 the moment he struck it.
42 overs are left for New Zealand. The required run rate is around 6.5 and over. That's straight up in the air. Vincent has now moved into the 20s. McGrath continues. That's a beautiful shot. Picked up very early by McMillan.
Lovely shot. It raced away to the fence for 4.
McMillan is now facing. That's too short. 4 runs. He timed that to perfection.
Cracking shot. The secret there was that he got his feet into position early and had plenty of time to play the shot.
That's gone high in the air. Super shot by McMillan.
That was beautifully played. He was well over the top of the ball.
That over eased the pressure on the batting team. Vincent facing. The required run rate is around 6 and over. That could go all the way to the boundary. Simons only overpitched very slightly, but it was punished.
A nice, delicate late cut there. You don't see it often, but well played this time.
Simons at the start of his run-up. Stopped by Warren. For all the way. This partnership is now 100. Simons at the start of his run-up. That's the end of the 10th over. McMillan facing. Now the run rate stands at just over 6 and over. There it goes. That was sweetly timed.
He really laid into that delivery. 4 runs all the way.
He goes over the top. That wasn't a very good delivery.
That came right out of the meat. Excellent shot.
It's high in the air. The crowd were brought to their feet by that shot.
What a clever piece of batting. He picked a safe area and just lifted it over the infield.
39 overs are left in the innings. Simons to begin a new over. Now the run rate stands at just over 6 and over. Not timed perfectly, but they'll get some runs anyway. Simons to bowl to Vincent. It's in the air. He's timing the ball perfectly today.
That was a good shot. He saw it early and got into position quickly.
Simons continues. Stopped by Lehman. Simons to bowl to Vincent. There's a mix-up with the batsman. McGrath to begin a new over. The required run rate is looking more and more out of reach here. There it goes. That really was a super stroke.
He picked his spot well there, a glorious boundary.
McGrath continues. It's high in the air. McMillan will be eyeing his century now. McGrath to bowl to McMillan. It's in the air. Oh, Bowler won't like that one little bit.
He hardly seemed to hit it, but it's gone for 6.
There's a mix-up with the batsman. Foolish running. That's simply throwing wickets away.
What a waste of a wicket. Terrible communication by the batsman.
McMillan eventually goes for 99. That was an excellent knock by McMillan.
He played so well, but he had a century within reach. He'll be really disappointed.
Cairns comes in at number 6. The new batsman won't have to face just yet. That's straight up in the air. And there's a fielder under it. Vincent is finally out for 34.
It took an age to come down. The batsman really skied that one.
37 overs are left for New Zealand. The new batsman won't face for the time being. The required run rate is around 5.5 and over. He's smashed that away. That's the first boundary for Cairns. The total is now 5 for 143. stopped by Hayden. There's a mix-up with the batsman. The umpire is calling for the third umpire. The batsman will have to be more careful now, having got away with that. It's high in the air. Really struck that well.
That was beautifully played. He was well over the top of the ball.
New Zealand move on to 147. Simons to bowl to Cairns. Five for 148. Simons to bowl to Cairns. There it goes. Cairns moves into double figures with those runs. There it goes. So there was 14 off that over. McGrath to begin a new over. The required run rate is around 5.5 and over. He smashed that one right out of the ground. That nearly joined us up here in the commentary box.
The bowler doesn't look too happy about it. There might be a little bit more in the next one.
McGrath to bowl to Cairns. That's cleared the infield. Cairns has moved into the 20s and is starting to look far more relaxed. That's gone high in the air. That was 4 the moment it left his bat.
What a clever piece of batting. He picked a safe area and just lifted it over the infield.
McGrath at the start of his run-up. McGrath at the start of his run-up. He looked as if he was home to me. Simons to continue with his off-spin. The required run rate is around 5 and over. Hit straight at Hayden. Simons to Cairns. There it goes. He really struck that well.
The bowler doesn't look too happy about it. There might be a little bit more in the next one.
It's in the air. The crowd were brought to their feet by that shot.
He picked his spot well there, a glorious boundary.
Cairns is now facing. That's straight up in the air. .34 overs are left for New Zealand. We're about to see a change in the bowling. The run rate stands at just under 5 and over. That's gone high in the air. He's timing the ball perfectly today.
He really laid into that delivery. 4 runs all the way.
There it goes. And safe. There it goes. That's the first boundary for Styrus. 33 overs are left in the innings. Now the run rate stands at just over 5 and over. There it goes. The 6th wicket partnership has moved on to 55. Simons at the start of his run-up. There should be some runs here. It's been a really good innings by Cairns. Cairns has scored 50 off 24 balls, 5 for 195.
Now he needs to make sure he keeps concentrating to get his century.
Styrus facing. Hit straight at McGrath. Simons to Styrus. He didn't quite get hold of that one properly. He looked as if he was home to me. That over cost 9 runs. Lee to begin a new over. The run rate stands at just under 5 and over. Not timed perfectly, but they'll get some runs anyway. Hayden reaches it before it crosses the boundary. The batsmen are looking for 3. There's a mix-up with the batsman. He's not a good judge of a run, is he? They have 32 overs to get, 159. Lee at the start of his run-up. It's in the air. That's too short, and it's been dispatched before. That takes him into double figures. That's straight up in the air. Styrus really punishes anything short.
Lovely shot. It raced away to the fence for 4.
Styrus is now facing. It's in the air. You can't afford to bowl that in there.
That was a beautifully played leg glance. Right off the face of the bat, just turning the wrists as it got to him. 31 overs are left for New Zealand. The run rate stands at just under 4.5 and over. He smashed that one right out of the ground. That easily cleared the boundary.
The bowler doesn't look too happy about it. There might be a little bit more in the next one.
It's high in the air. He looked as if he was home to me. Styrus is now on strike. It's high in the air. It was well held. It was in the air a long time.
Well, he just picked the fielder out perfectly with that shot.
Styrus goes for 18. Adams awaits his first ball. That's a big appeal. Umpire says not out. I felt that that wasn't out.
Yes, Richie, all this hopeful appealing is doing them no favours when the umpire has a close call to make. Not a difficult decision for the umpire.
There it goes. Oh, he's dropped it. That's the first runs of the day for Adams. That's the end of the 20th over. Lee to begin a new over. Now the run rate stands at just over 4.5 and over. Adams facing. That's straight up in the air. Warren couldn't quite reach it. Lee at the start of his run-up. That must be close. Not out. I thought it looked very close.
Well, Richie, that looked very close, but the umpire's given the batsman the benefit of the doubt. A tough decision by the umpire, but he seemed certain.
He's worked that into the gap. The total is now 6 for 222. Lee to Adams. That's gone high in the air. He smashed that right out of the ground.
He smashed that a long way. Great to watch for the neutral, but the bowler won't be too happy.
So there was 8 off that over. Now the run rate stands at just over 4 and over. It's high in the air. He certainly saw that one early.
He'll be pleased with that one. It came sweetly out of the middle of the bat.
Simons is back in the attack. That's racing away for 4. He was onto that in a flash.
Oh, great shot. That was a pleasure to see.
Not timed perfectly, but they'll get some runs anyway. Cairns is now on strike. He goes over the top. Simons is not impressed.
What a ripper. The crowd enjoyed that one.
Steered expertly into the gap. Cairns facing. The required run rate is around 4 and over. Steered expertly into the gap. The batsmen are after 2. The sweeper picks up. He looked as if he was home to me. That's straight up in the air. Adams moves into double figures with those runs. That's straight up in the air. That required perfect timing.
Cracking shot. The secret there was that he got his feet into position early and had plenty of time to play the shot.
There it goes. He looked as if he was home to me. That's 12 off the over now. The bowler really needs to keep it tighter. That over helped the run rate somewhat. Simons to begin a new over. Now the run rate stands at just over 3.5 and over. There it goes. Adams has moved into the 20s and is starting to look far more relaxed. Adams is now facing. It's high in the air. That was 6 all the way.
That was a super shot. I really didn't think it was too bad a ball.
Simons continues. That's straight up in the air. Lehman couldn't quite reach it. That over helped the run rate somewhat. Cairns is now facing. The run rate stands at just under 3.5 and over. He's got it into the gap. Hayden sprinting along the boundary. Steered expertly into the gap. The batsmen are after 2. I think he was easily back in the crease there. Lee at the start of his run-up. Lee to Adams. That's run away for 4. Lee is not impressed.
What a ripper. The crowd enjoyed that one.
We're going to see the leg spinner worn. Now the run rate stands at just over 3 and over. Well played, but the fielder will cut that one off. Great job done by the fielder in the deep. It's in the air. Warren to bowl to Adams. Warren to Cairns. Lee to begin a new over. The required run rate is looking more and more out of reach here. He looked as if he was home to me. Lee to Cairns. There it goes.
Right.
That's gone high in the air. The required run rate is around 3 and over. Stopped by Hayden. He's got it into the gap. Collected by Hayden. A cracking stroke. Cairns moves into the 90s. Warren continues. The fielder will cut that off. Well, that'll certainly beat the fielder into the fence. Picked up very early by Adams.
Really good shot there. Nicely timed and picked the gap perfectly.
So there was 10 off that over. Lee to begin a new over. Now the run rate stands at just over 2.5 and over. Not timed perfectly, but they'll get some runs anyway. Not timed perfectly, but they'll get some runs anyway. The batsmen are coming back for a second. Oh, that must be close.
He was yards out there. That was a badly judged run.
Adams is finally out for 41. That was a fine innings from Adams. Lee at the start of his run-up. I think he was easily back in the crease there. Hit straight to a fielder. Harris waiting at the striker's end. That's the first runs of the day for Harris. Well held.
Well taken. He never looked like dropping.
Cairns is finally out for number 7. The crowd really enjoyed that innings.
He played so well, but he had a century within reach. He'll be really disappointed.
The new batsman won't face for the time being. Now the run rate stands at just over 2.5 and over. He smashed that away. That's the first boundary for Harris. Warren is back in the attack. Hit straight to a fielder. That's gone high in the air. Good stroke for 4. That's the first boundary for Vettori. That'll be 4 more to the total. Super shot by Vettori.
He'll be pleased with that one. It came sweetly out of the middle of the bat.
That's the end of the 30th over. We're about to see a change in the bowling. The required run rate looks a fairly comfortable 2 and over. Hit straight at Martin. McGrath to Harris. Excellent bowling by McGrath. Harris waiting at the striker's end. It's high in the air. Nineteen overs are left in the innings. The required run rate has crept up to around 2 and over. It's high in the air. It's high in the air. That's straight up in the air. Oh, that's close. And the umpire's given it. Vettori goes for only 9. Tuffy waiting at the striker's end.
No!
18 overs are left in the innings. McGrath to begin a new over. The required run rate looks a fairly comfortable 2 and over. There it goes. Harris moves into double figures with those runs. McGrath is back in the attack. That's straight up in the air. Looks in good form out there.
Cracking shot. The secret there was that he got his feet into position early and had plenty of time to play the shot.
McGrath to Harris. That's gone high in the air. Oh, he's put it down.
At this level of cricket, you really can't afford to drop your catches.
That's gone high in the air. Harris has moved into the 20s and is starting to look far more relaxed. No! 17 overs are left for New Zealand. The required run rate looks a fairly comfortable 1.5 and over. Gone, caught.
Well taken. He never looked like dropping.
So to sum up then, Australia win by 29 runs.